Presented by CBS All Access.
Hello and welcome to News, Games, and More, IGN's daily news show that covers news, games, and more. I'm Brian Altano. With me is Casey DeFreitas, Seth Macy, and Matt Kim. Hello, friends. Good to see you all in small
Likewise.
rectangles.
Howdy.
Hey guys, what's up?
No, same old. We're doing good. So this feels like the first sort of like calm day in a little while. Last week feels like it was kind of totally consumed by PlayStation news and pre-order debacles, and then this week we had the Bethesda Xbox stuff, and then craziness around the Xbox pre-orders. And today feels vaguely chill, although tons of stuff still kept happening. So we'll see if we can catch it. But I just want to check in on everyone first. Do you feel a little bit more relaxed today than you did yesterday, Casey?
Yeah, I do. Honestly, yesterday morning, trying to get those Xboxes was a pain, both physically and literally, because after that, my arm was like, why did you have to click so many times? And it just kind of quit for the day.
Matt, how about you? You're one of the top people that runs news for IGN. I'm sure you appreciate a slightly more calm day.
Yeah, I was telling Joe, my editor, at the beginning of the week that I love big stories like Xbox Bethesda acquisitions because it feels like the rest of the week is planned for me, right? Like I have one thing to pay attention to and focus on, and I know nothing else is going to be as big as that. And so, yeah, I've just been following up with any potential developments in that area all week, and it feels, which is actually easier for my job, surprisingly.
And Seth, you had enough time to move into a basement from 4 decades ago, so things are going okay for you.
Yeah, today things are wonderful. Yesterday and about a week ago, they were horrible because if people don't know what my job is, it's to let you know when pre-orders are live, get them on the site, get them on the IGN Deals Twitter, and it has basically been, I think I worked 15 hours on the day that the PlayStation was like, surprise! You can order it now. So,
well, speaking of surprises, one person who didn't have to wait too long for an Xbox Series X is our own Ryan McCaffrey. Here he is right here holding an actual real working Xbox Series X. The reason that we're emphasizing that is because in a very weird, unprecedented thing, a few weeks ago, or a few days ago, I don't know, 2020 is a stretch, Ryan McCaffrey received a set of basically dummy shell versions of the consoles. He got the Series S, the white one, the slim one, and the Series X, the big boy. And they didn't work. They were just like for photographing purposes and to, fool your friends, stuff like that. But this is a working Series X. And to be honest with you, I'm extremely jealous. I know Ryan was in the trenches with the rest of us yesterday trying to get a pre-order. I don't know if he has to mail this back. I wasn't given a ton of details about this, but he has an actual working Series X. Coverage will be coming out soon. I can't tell you when or how or why, but he cannot reveal the UI or gameplay or anything like that. But the man has the system, and it's real.
I think we can tell you one thing. It's dense.
It's dense. Yes.
I think that's the only adjective we're allowed to tell you.
I think I live near Ryan. Maybe we can just go over.
Yeah,
just like show up, knock on his door.
Hey,
like, Ryan,
man, I want to see it too.
We could probably get within 6 feet of it if we wear masks. That's about as close as we can get. But the reason I want to talk about this is because it feels like such a crazy long road since December of 2019 when Microsoft revealed the Series X at the Game Awards and showed off this is the first big new next gen console, and it really sort of started the conversation around next gen consoles. And then everything went crazy this year. And in a normal world, I think we'd all be hovering around the office, except for you, Seth, because you live in Maine. Maybe we would fly you in if we got a good deal on the IGN deals for
people like that.
Yeah, exactly. But here we are now, and the systems are real. They have materialized in one man's specific house that we can't go to, but they're here, and I find that incredibly exciting because it for the longest time I even theorized that they would get delayed this year. But this seems like it's actually happening. So how are you guys feeling about this? How do you feel about the design of the system now that we're seeing it, Matt?
I liked the Series X from the moment the moment it was announced. I think some people thought it was boring, but I thought it was utilitarian or something. And then I saw the PS5, which was not boring, and I think they both have their merits. I successfully pre-ordered a PS5 because I am worried they will make it boring. Do you know what I mean? Like when they announced the PS5 Slim or something, like 3 years down the line, it's just going to be like a white slab or something. I ordered this monstrosity so that I could have it forever and as like evidence that this was a thing that existed at one time, you know?
Right. Casey, how about you? Did you said you went for one of these pre-orders, right? I remember we were talking a few days ago, and you were kind of on the fence, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was just doing my part for IGN, but I say I'm still a little bit on the fence. I actually really like the design of the Series S. I think I like how small and condensed it looks, but if I were to personally pick up one, it would definitely be the Series X, just because I might as well get the extra power. I don't have a PC, so the PS5 and the Series X, it's kind of like what I need to upgrade versus what I already have. I like the Xbox Series X design better than the PlayStation 5. I know it is much more boring, but I thought the PS5 seems so big. It just seems so unruly. I don't know where the heck I'm going to put this thing. It's like having a giant PC tower. So I kind of like how practical the shape of the Series X is, because it seems like I'll be able to kind of like finagle that into spaces better than I would a PS5.
Right, for sure. I'm like in a very similar boat. I actually was like, I feel like once the wow factor, like I was totally enamored with the PS5 look at first, because I was like, that is like nothing I've ever seen before. And I think that like the wow factor kind of wore off a little bit, and now I sort of just appreciate Microsoft's approach to making a sleek, modern, sort of boring box. Whereas I'm looking at the PS5 and I'm like, am I gonna have to clean the dust out of those like Batman ears and the wings? Like,
yeah.
Is it going to sit sideways in my entertainment center? Like, I don't like the fact that like the disc-based version has this like beer belly on it. Like, you know, there's a lot there. Seth, did you end up going for both consoles?
I did. I should point out I gave a thumbs down to the PS5, not for the PS5, but for the aesthetic, because I don't like the PS5 aesthetic. I said before, it looks like a rival school president from Kill la Kill, if anybody gets that joke. But yeah,
I got that joke.
Thank you. Good. I like the PlayStation. I like the Xbox. The designs. I really don't like the PlayStation 5. The Xbox I can live with, but I'm not thrilled with either. But I like Casey. I do like the Series S. Did I say 1X? I'm sorry if I did.
You're not the only one who's confused.
The Series S, yeah, I think that one's the coolest looking one out of all of them. I don't know. I kind of want to just like wear it around my neck and like walk around my neighborhood with it.
Seth, I notice a lot of confusion, or maybe not a lot of confusion, but a lot of faux confusion over this sort of weird debacle that the older Xbox models were seeing like a marginal spike in purchasing on Amazon, but you dug into the details on that and you found that it's not really as grand as it seems, correct? That
is 100% correct. It was my the hill that I chose to die on last night on Twitter was that it was completely overblown. And then Zooj EX, Daniel Ahmad, who's an actual analyst, pointed out that the increase that Amazon showed wasn't an increase in how many were sold. It was just an increase in its ranking. So it rose 740%. It didn't sell 747, or it didn't sell 400. It was, and looking at our own data, there were 0.1% as many Xbox One X's as were sold as the Series X. So like not a problem at all. I was very flustered and frustrated about it. And when you mentioned it, I don't know if you saw me, like a little bit of blood started to trickle out of my nose.
No. This is I wanted to help you get that blood back in your brain. No,
we have a question from chat from Jason McCullen. What affects the rank though?
It's just as far as the change, the percentage change was just like it went from like spot 1,635 bestseller to spot 317. So that difference, Amazon said it grew by 730, whatever it was. When I looked, it was 431% in rank. It didn't mean that they sold 431% more, which, by the way, would have been meaningless without any context, because if they had sold 5, that would have been 400% more than if they had sold 1 the day before. So, it's all about the way that you want to sort of ring out the statistics there to get,
I
get
wonder
the
if it was
outrage
also-
that you're after.
so many people were like, looking for the placeholder pages for the Series X and the Series S yesterday. So I wonder if that was it, just like accidentally clicking on those things out of a blind fury with 9 tabs open.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people were using this sort of as an excuse to point out that the Series S and Series X and the Xbox One S and the Xbox One SAD, all those things, the naming conventions are confusing and repeatedly creating this wonderfully fantastical situation where a grandmother with $500 stumbles drunk into a GameStop on Christmas Eve
Right.
and buys the wrong console because she's dumb. And to that I say, if you need proof that we're dumb, I will gesture towards literally everything else. But I don't think this is declarative proof here.
The other thing is the Xbox One X has been discontinued. So nobody, even if they are confused, they won't be able to buy it anyway because it just won't be there anymore. It'll be long sold out by the time holiday shopping comes along.
Right.
It seems like an extreme solution. Like, so consumers don't get confused. Let's just throw out the other one. Let's just make it non-existent,
Hey,
and then there's no confusion.
If it works for them.
Yeah.
I want to point out there is one confirmed case of someone who accidentally did hit purchase on a 1X thinking it was the Series X, and it was just some guy on Twitter who was like, I was up at 8 a.m. and I just wanted to buy this thing, and I accidentally picked the wrong one.
Right. I should point out, I said absolutely nobody made that mistake, but what I should say is it's highly unlikely that a meaningful number of people made that mistake, because I shouldn't say that nobody did, because I can't say that definitively.
I did see one guy on Twitter who was basically just like, he like posted a screen cap of his like, you ordered this thing, and he was basically like dunking on people, and he was like, hey, if you can't afford this, time to like work harder and hustle, and everybody was like, you got the wrong one, dude. Like, which I love that so much, because it wasn't even just like, I got this thing, and everyone's like, oh dude, I feel so bad. He was like, hey man, get on my level, and everyone was like, no, your level is the wrong level. So anyway, obviously here at IGN, we support both consoles. I pre-ordered both. I'm very excited for them. There's some people in the chat being like, you guys picked the boring one. I'm getting them both. I don't think anyone really needs to buy either right now. I've said this before, especially the more we find out that there's so many cross-gen games. That said, I'm buying them both because it's fun and it's my job and I love them. And if you're excited for them, that's great too. But a huge part of video games, and this is not something I want to stoke the flames on, but it is about, making a purchase and then dying for that purchase for years on end and fighting. So the upcoming feature-length documentary for CBS All Access, The Console Wars, tells the story of the original console war, Sega versus Nintendo. As the 80s ticked over into the 90s, Nintendo was the undisputed king of console gaming, but then Sega would not accept defeat, and after a number of shrewd business moves like hiring a new head of Sega America, introducing Sonic the Hedgehog with his fast legs, and deliberately attacking Nintendo in its advertising, Sega eventually was able to claw its way up to be a serious threat to Nintendo. It's an incredible story, and the documentary gathers a lot of the people involved in the companies at the time, aka the veterans, to tell their stories on camera. Console Wars was an official selection of the 2020 South by Southwest Film Festival, and it streams exclusively on CBS All Access starting today. So to get us in the mood to revisit 90s gaming, we thought we'd share some of our favorite video games and gaming memories of the 90s. But first, here is a clip from Console Wars.
Said, well, I want you to come to Japan with me because we've got this great 16-bit technology. We want you to run Sega and take on Nintendo.
And I argued with him. I didn't really want to go. But my daughter, Ashley, said, this man came all the way from Japan to find you. You have to go back with him to see what he's talking about.
It's your destiny.
After a long discussion with family, I did go to Japan.
So I've actually known Blake for a while, and he actually came to IGN years and years ago and was talking about making this into a documentary or movie in some way. So like actually seeing this realized is super cool, but also makes me feel like I should have done more with my life. No, this is great. I'm super excited for this documentary because this was the original console war. Like, this was the original thing that I remember people arguing over when we were kids. Like this, I straight up saw a kid in my cafeteria throw one of those like little milk things across the room to hit somebody else because he said that Mario is better than Sonic, and the other like the dude's friend popped up with like a bodyguard with a history book and deflected it, and like milk exploded everywhere. Like, that was like one of the first physical attacks I've seen happen in the console wars. But the 90s were crazy, and like the thing was like we everybody was ride or die for Nintendo for the longest time, and all of a sudden Sonic and Sega showed up, and Sonic was like, we have blast processing, we're faster, and it is no different than this teraflops stuff that you're reading in the comments. It's no different than everybody you see like fighting over like exclusive game libraries and stuff like that. War never changes, and so I wanted to ask you guys, what was your favorite game from the 90s? What is your favorite 90s video game? And depending on which platform it's on, we can see where you fall in the console wars. Casey, let's start with you.
We can only pick one?
You can pick a few.
Okay.
It's a fake
All right,
challenge.
Cool. Pokemon Red. Pokemon
Okay.
Red and The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. And The Lion King from Super Nintendo, because that is like the most 90s thing ever, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this sounds like you're a Nintendo fangirl.
I did have a Sega Genesis, and I did play Sonic, and I have played Sonic, and I've also played Sonic on a Nintendo console. So, but yeah, I guess that very firmly puts me over into Nintendo territory.
The Lion King's an interesting one because there's some games
the
like
Sega version.
Yeah, the Sega version, and also like Aladdin was different on Genesis than Super Nintendo. So you had like micro console wars there, which I guess people are arguing over, Spider-Man coming to the Avengers and stuff like that. Seth, what about you?
It was Final Fantasy 3, but everybody calls it Final Fantasy 6 now because we decided to go with the Japanese naming conventions. That still is. Like, I've played that again, like, recently in the last few years. I probably should go back and finish it, but man, greatest RPG of all time. Nothing has come close.
That's
Really?
an awesome one.
Really?
Yeah.
I like my RPGs turned base. And I like the stories to have steampunk wagon wheels in them, and for there to be a little Sasquatch who lives in a mountain that you may or may not get to join your party.
Matt, what about you?
I'm a wee baby, but even I gamed in the 90s. Although it's a little weird, actually, because I grew up in Korea, and Korea didn't have consoles from Japan. Kind of like a history thing. Like, they were just like, don't bring them over here. None of that Japanese culture stuff in Korea, at least during the 90s. So I didn't grow up with the game console until after I moved to America. But when I did, I got me an N64 and Pokemon Snap, which was
Nice.
great. And I think that's 98, 99, 2000 maybe?
Yes.
Yeah,
Maybe it's
no, totally. That's what's so
Pokemon-
fascinating about that decade is that you had people playing NES games at the beginning of it, and also Super NES games and Game Boy and N64. Like,
Yeah.
like if you're a Nintendo fan, like there was a lot. It wasn't like, it didn't feel like nowadays where it's just like there's like 9 years of PS3 or something like that. Yeah, I think for me,
Game Gear, I think. Sorry.
Did you really?
Damn.
I think I actually had a Game Gear as a kid. I remember my dad brought it for me because he used to go on business trips to Japan and would just get them. And he's like, here's this thing. And I was just like, cool, I don't know what this is. I don't know what the name of it is. But I definitely had it, and I played a Jurassic Park license game on it.
I specifically remember playing a Game Gear on a road trip with my family, and it was hooked up. That thing used like 6 AA batteries that ate up in like 2 hours. And so we got this car adapter, and you plugged it into like the cigarette lighter thing in your car. But my dad stopped to get gas and shut off the car, and I just lost all the progress in the game I was playing. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say your dad went to light a cigarette.
And then he never came back. No, that's not true. He didn't smoke. And he did come back. No, I think mine's probably Super Mario 64. I'm replaying that now, and it's just it's so weird and so fun and holds up so well. I think like some of the level design is just so inventive and strange, and I think like the fact that it's the first 3D platformer of its kind, and I just remember like pushing the analog stick forward to tiptoe. I remember seeing this game in a Toys R Us running on a demo kiosk about a few days It was a few days before I picked up my pre-order, and I specifically remember like turning away so I wouldn't see anything, because I looked over and there was this like large young boy fighting Bowser, and I was like, "You can pick up Bowser and throw him by his tail. I can't look anymore." And like now my whole job is seeing games early. But yeah, so that is the Console Wars brand new documentary on CBS All Access. Launches today. Keep the war going, I guess. But be nice. Be nice in the comments over the Console Wars, because it gets serious out there. Real quick, we got a quick story that popped in just during the making of the show about Starfield is receiving a major engine rewrite for next-gen consoles. Matt, tell us about this.
Yeah, so as you know, the big story for the beginning of the week was when Microsoft announced that it was acquiring ZeniMax Media, which includes studios like Bethesda and Arcane. And so today, Major Nelson, Xbox's own Major Nelson, hosted his podcast, which has the first like public interview with both Todd Howard, Phil Spencer, and Pete Hines, all in the same podcast. And so they talked a little bit. It was not too much. Not too many details that weren't previously known. You know, they talked about how the deal came to be, and they talked about it was like their long relationship together between Xbox and Bethesda. But then Major Nelson, Larry Herb, I can never pronounce his name, surprised Howard with a surprise question. Was just like, hey, tell us about Starfield. And Howard was very like caught on the back foot, but he did reveal that thanks to next gen hardware and like the advancements of new technology, the Creation Engine, Bethesda's proprietary game engine, is getting a major overhaul that supports all these new next-gen features for Starfield, which is already a confirmed next-gen game.
Super cool.
Yeah, so I think the Creation Engine, which is Bethesda's like long-running game engine, was a bit controversial back in 2018 when Howard said that they were still going to be using it. Like, why would they change engines? Because they own it. But then people were like, oh, but all the Bethesda games have bugs and look kind of crappy. And so it sucks that you're still sticking with that game, still sticking with that engine for next gen. But people also miss that, you know, the Creation Engine is not the same for Fallout 4 as it's going to be in Starfield. Or was it on, you know, it's not the same from Oblivion to Elder Scrolls 5, right? Like the engine itself stays, keeps the name, but there's new technology, new tools added to it every generation, every new game. So the Creation Engine from Fallout 4 is not going to be the one that you're going to see for Starfield, for example.
Yeah, which is I don't know. I think that's really exciting. It does feel like that engine's been sort of on borrowed time for a very long time. That's one of the most beloved engines for I think a very long era in gaming, because that sort of Bethesda jank became part of the charm. But I think then we all were like, hey, wait a minute. Like we get repeatedly angry at literally every other company when there is that much pop in, or like a dude's leg gets stuck in a tree, or all the random ass Skyrim nonsense that we dealt with for years was endearing and fun. But at some point you got to be like, hey man, get it together. So I'm very into that. There's a lot of people in the chat saying, when are you going to talk about Xbox? We talked about it for 15 minutes at the top of the show. You guys got to get here on time. When the news is like tonight's top story and they start at the start of the news, you can't show up at the end of the news when they're talking about Mickey Mouse's birthday.
Yep.
It's his birthday? It's his birthday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Mickey.
It's not.
Y'all in the comments who want to see the Xbox can go to IGN.com. We have a top story. We have footage of the Xbox Series X in hand that you can see that our colleague Ryan has, not us.
Yeah, because that is a website, not a live show that moves.
It's also on YouTube. If you go to IGN's YouTube channel, it's just like 3 videos back, I think. 3 or 4.
That is true. Speaking of things, no, go for it, Casey.
I did just want to mention about Starfield. I thought it was kind of interesting that Sony was actually talking to Bethesda about acquiring exclusive rights to Starfield, but then Microsoft went up and snatched it up. So I'm assuming that those talks are done. How awkward must those emails be?
Yeah, I mean, Microsoft wanted ZeniMax enough to get them even while they still have 2 PS5 timed exclusives coming out next year. So that'll be fun.
Casey, do you think it's like one of those things where like Sony was on the email chain and then Microsoft got added and they like scrolled up and they're like, Oh, this is awkward.
Oh no.
You think they'll have like a, you think they'll be renamed a little bit, be like Bethesda, and at the very bottom in the really small print is like a Microsoft company or an Xbox company, and then you boot up like Deathloop on PS5 next year, and you get the little Bethesda or ZeniMax logo, and right at the bottom in small print is a Microsoft company?
Don't we get that with Cuphead and Ori on the Switch?
I don't know. I haven't played those games on the Switch.
Yeah, it's definitely odd. But I think it'll work out. I mean, it's the other option is you don't play the games that it's fight, and then you miss out, right?
It'll be fine.
But yeah, we have a long time to wait for that. But speaking of having a long time to wait for things, Disney today dropped an entire slate of bad but fairly expected news about a bunch of their upcoming movies and their delays. Obviously, the COVID-19 pandemic throughout 2020 has pushed many, many movies. Although we did get some things like, Milan and Trolls and Scoob and Bill and Ted 3.
I completely forgot Scoob came out.
Oh, you know what? I didn't, because my 2-year-old has watched the first 20 minutes of that movie 300 times.
Yeah.
That's
300 times too many.
Do kids do that to themselves, or is it the adults putting on the show?
That's a kid thing.
Yeah, I'll explain it to you. So we put television on a timer for our kid because she's young. And every time we go, do you want to watch later in the movie? And she goes, from the beginning.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And that movie starts with like Dr. Dre and Tupac's California Love, so I can't be too mad at it. But there is I've definitely seen that movie a lot.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
I apologize.
Yeah.
I've watched the first 30 minutes of The Emperor's New Groove probably 600 times, because for some reason that's the only thing our aftercare program ever put on when I was in elementary school, and they just always started it from the beginning every single time and wouldn't listen to us.
Right. That's very odd.
I'm just getting flashbacks.
Yeah.
Are they doing this on purpose? That's why I was like, is she really asking for it? That's why I had to know. Sorry for the tangent. Let's get back to Disney. Hey, Emperor's New Groove is Disney.
You'll have plenty of time to watch The Emperor's New Groove again as you wait for Death on the Nile, a movie I didn't know about, that is moving from 10/23 this year to December 18th. I still don't really see that. I don't see theaters being a thing in December. I just really don't. I mean, they'll be a thing. I don't see them being a lucrative thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There's The Empty Man, another movie I didn't know about, which is moving.
Empty theater, more like.
Got him.
Woo!
This was previously dated to be on December 4th, and now it's moving to October 23rd. So I don't know what's up with that. Maybe that's just going to streaming, or that dude wrote that number wrong. The big ones here are Black Widow. Obviously, Black Widow is moving from November 6th this year, which definitely wasn't happening, to May 7th of 2021. I don't know if like you'll be able to pack a theater by then. The thing is that so much of this hinges not only on like a vaccine, but also people's willingness to go in there. That said, movies like Tenet, were able to be watched in overseas and other countries, even here in America. And so that's what's interesting here, is that we basically got all of the entire Infinity Saga right up until Endgame, and then they took a break after Spider-Man, and then the world took a break. And so we're waiting for this whole new phase of Marvel stuff, along with the Eternals, which is now moving. It was supposed to be in February. That's moving until November of 2021. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, that was supposed to be in May of next year, is now moving to July. And so the thing that's interesting to me about that is that if they're still shooting, those guys have to stay jacked, and girls have to stay jacked forever. Like, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like,
I didn't even think about that.
Right?
Yeah.
Think about having to hold on to that muscle mass forever.
No.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, man.
No carbs.
You can't even do what everybody else is doing in quarantine. It's just shame eating whatever you want, because it doesn't matter. Nobody sees your legs anymore. Who cares?
Man, I'm a complete baby. I was supposed to do, this was like years ago when I was actually fit, and they moved the photo shoot to the next day, and I just straight up refused. I was like, nope, not gonna do that. Not gonna do this for another day. I can't do it. Done. Dropping out.
This window. That's all you have.
Yep. I'm fit for. I planned it for just Friday, and after that, like,
Dude,
I'm not going to look like this anymore.
if I put a picture on Instagram and somebody was like, they're like, "You look great," I immediately go to the kitchen and eat as a reward. I'm like, I've earned this. Like, I can.
I look
gain
good.
it,
I can
lose
eat
it.
pizza now.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
think that was me. That was like, oh yeah, quarantine goals, right? Until like the first month and a half, 2 months, I was like exercising every other day. And
Mhm.
I lost some weight, and then that stopped happening real
Yeah,
fast
it's okay.
afterwards. Yeah, it's all right.
It's totally
cool.
okay. So, I mean, this is so interesting because it's like Shang-Chi, The Eternals, and
Mhm.
Black Widow. I think Black Widow is sort of separate from the rest of this, but they are using that movie as a vehicle to set up Florence Pugh as the next Black Widow, and create a whole new generation of Black Widows. Most amount of times I've ever said Black Widow in one sentence. But Shang-Chi and the Eternals essentially are bringing in this whole new era of storytelling. It's going to go super crazy, but we're going to have to wait a very long time for it, and that's kind of a bummer. In there as well was an Untitled Disney event film, which I don't know if that's like the Untitled Goose Game or if they just don't have a name yet. That is removed from schedule. So I know a lot of you were bummed about that movie you didn't know about not being a thing you can watch anymore.
Damn.
There's also Deep Water and the Untitled 20th Century Fox movie, which is also removed from schedules. I don't know. I hope that wasn't like an alien film because I'd be bummed.
If I had to guess, I think Untitled Disney event film might have been another live action, maybe Little Mermaid, which I remember was in the works, and I'm willing to bet 20th Century was also an alien.
Oh man, that's a bummer. There's also The King's Man, which was previously dated for February, has now been moved up 2 weeks, according to this. I don't know what's going on with that. I have a feeling a lot of these are going to go straight to streaming. There's also Spielberg's remake of West Side Story has been pushed almost a year. He's probably looking to get some Hollywood, theater money off of that one. But two things that were not there were Ryan Reynolds' video game action comedy Free Guy, which is the movie about sort of like an NPC in a video game who wakes up. Here we're looking at Kingsman, which we'll have to wait a little while for. And there's also Pixar's Soul. We saw Pixar's last movie basically launched directly on streaming. It was so memorable that I forgot the name of it.
Onward.
There it is. Yes. And so
Fine movie.
those are still Free Guy and Pixar Soul are still on late 2020 releases. There were some numbers going around about Milan making X number of $1 million off of Disney Plus, but we found out that those numbers weren't exactly true. So I do wonder how many people paid that $30 plus the subscription. And yeah, right.
Yeah.
And if
$30,
it's worth doing it.
come on, Disney.
We were talking about this in the work group earlier today, but like I think Mulan's kind of difficult because the word of mouth for Mulan wasn't particularly strong. It had a lot of like external controversies, and $30 was a high price to pay for a movie for a some would say maybe not as good as the original version. Like the animated version exists that you can get for free, right? And if you like that, you can just keep watching that. So maybe Mulan's like a weird outlier and not like indicative of how well the premium model works for Disney. Like I know a lot of people who said, yeah, I would absolutely put $30 down to see Black Widow today,
Right.
They're crazy.
Yeah.
$30. It better be a Criterion collection. Like there better be 2 DVDs and our Blu-rays in there, 7 hours worth of features. Yeah, no, $30.
Yeah, no,
come on.
that's way too much.
Yes.
I was thinking like 15. I could justify $15, but 30? Like,
$9.99. That's my final offer, Disney.
So
would you do 30 for Black Widow?
No.
There's no movie coming to the theater that I would spend $30
I would for
to
Dune.
stream in my house.
I totally would for Dune. Yeah, in a heartbeat. Well, because I know the thing is, I live in San Francisco, and it's like $16 to see a movie here, or was, and like if I went with my wife, I'd have to get a sitter, and I'd have to get Ubers to the theater and stuff like that, and then I'd go there, sneak a couple of drinks in and some snacks and stuff like that. You're looking at it's like $100 night, man. Like,
but you also get to leave your house. And who knows what the night will turn into? You can have a crazy adventure on your way back.
I don't get to leave my house for anything anymore.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
I know.
But I saw a lot of people talking about the thing with Trolls was that they were looking at it like if me and my 7 kids, when we go to see Trolls, like that's a $200 night. But the problem is, like we were talking about before, is kids don't want to see Trolls. They want to see Trolls 40 times. And so when they know they have trolls on their TV, they're like, play it again, play the beginning again, start it from the beginning. But you can't with some of those things. But I feel like with Milan, you're able to watch it repeatedly. But with those other things, you basically had that, like, it was like a 24-hour rental window. So, I mean, obviously this is a new problem everybody's figuring out. And just like video game pricing, there's no single answer for all of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in the Twitch chat right now talking, oh, that's a deal if you split it 6 ways. And I would like to remind everyone, like I always do, value is wholly subjective.
Yeah,
That is an
and
entire
also,
branch of
like,
economics dedicated to that.
You could,
and I would agree. I would just agree in normal times, like, yeah, like I could go to a friend's house and we could all split the $30 and a bunch of us could watch it. But right now, not a whole lot of people are down to have a group of people inside of their house on the couch to watch a movie right now.
Well, Casey, what you can do is you pay the $30 and then you charge people $5 to watch it from your window with a mask on.
So I actually do have a neighbor who's been setting up a projector on the side of his like end unit, and people have been sitting outside to watch some projector stuff. But I also want to point out, a lot of people in the chats are saying like, oh, it's not expensive. Like, people spend $30 going out to the movies, and that's true. But going out to the movies is an experience. Sitting on my couch and watching TV, I don't want to pay for that. I do that every night. This is not an experience. There's nothing special about it.
I'm totally with you. I also think too, it was like to ask for that money on top of the way it should have worked. They should have been like, if you're a Disney Plus subscriber, you get $5 off of this or something. And we're valuing you as an already paying customer, and then put Mulan on every other streaming site available to rent. But instead they use it as this sort of subscription driver to get new people to sign up, because they're like, we don't want your $30. We want your $30 plus your $7 a month, and we want you to sign up for a year. And so I think that's where it kind of fell apart. And I imagine that they're looking at some of that data, and this is why they've moved some of these movies around. It's also like Marvel movies, like you said, Casey, like a lot of Marvel specifically, they eventize these films. Like being in a crowded theater when you're watching Endgame makes it a better movie. Like there's moments that happen that like just don't ring true in the same way at home when like you're FaceTiming with your boys or whatever. Have
you ever seen like those videos that somebody like snuck of the end scene of Endgame, where like theaters just losing their minds? Like, dear God, I mean, we lose our minds around here at my house sometimes, but like, you ever seen a video of a guy watching a movie by himself at home being really excited? Spider-Man! Yeah. Speaking of stuff you can do at home, Jeff Keighley has announced, I hate transitions. I'm bad at them. I hate segues. I don't care. Jeff Keighley has announced a date for the Game Awards. It's Thursday, December 10th. Unsurprisingly, it has no live audience. It is a digital live stream. It will be running concurrently from 3 different cities, with hosted segments coming out of all those places. So all the footage you're seeing here, imagine all of this, but without anyone there. Even this guy won't be there.
Nice.
He might be there.
Y'all ever been to a Game Awards show, like in person?
Yeah, I've been to a few.
No.
They're a great time. I will say that like the weird thing about attending them live is that you can show up 45 minutes late and still sit like 15 rows from it. It's like it's kind of like going to like to a hockey game or something like that. No one really cares. Like there's assigned seating, but it doesn't matter. But no, they're fun. They're a really good time. And honestly, like it's nice to like wear a suit and get dressed up. Here's Cory Balrog, and for accepting for God of War.
Or if you're in the games industry, a T-shirt and a suit jacket over it.
Yeah, exactly. That is or a track jacket. Is
called
the
the Nacho Tower.
So what I wanted to talk to you guys about is the Game Awards are weird in that they have this arbitrary sort of mid-November cutoff date. For example, Smash Brothers was not included in the Game Awards one year, and Fallen Order was not included in the Game Awards, even though it launched basically the day of the cutoff date. But because judges didn't have time to play it or nominate it, it missed out. So it's sort of a celebration of the year in gaming, plus 6 weeks from the year earlier. So what I wanted to ask you guys is what do you think? First, I'll say, what's your game of the year so far? And also, what do you think will win Game of the Year this year? Casey, let's start with you. What's your Game of the Year so far, personally?
You don't want to talk to me, Brian.
What?
My game of the year is Rune Factory 4 Special, because I just really love that game, and I know it's a stupid answer and it's not going to be on anyone's list because it's a freaking 3DS re-release, but not a whole lot of other games have really like spoken to me this year, if that makes sense. Usually I have one game that I'm just all in on. I have hundreds of hours in, and I just don't have one of those games this year so far.
That's actually how I felt last year. I felt like a man on an island. Like nothing was really connecting with me. But I think it's like if you have a game that you latch onto, that you put hundreds of hours into, then hell yeah, that's your game of the year. I mean, we're all probably going to disagree with the one they pick anyway, so you might as well get personal with it.
I think Ghost of Tsushima
will win.
Is good too. Maybe not win, but I think. Oh my gosh, The Last of Us will win for sure.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've heard from everyone else.
I loved it. I mean, it's one of those things where it was like very divisive looking at the chat, but I mean, so is wearing a mask in public. So who knows? So is that your pick for what you think will win? Is Last of Us?
The Last of Us 2. Okay. Yeah.
Seth, what about you?
My favorite game is Microsoft Flight Simulator. Yeah, but that's not going to win. That's not going to win. The Last of Us 2 is going to win. It's the obvious choice. I never played it. I actually didn't like The Last of Us. I'm the only person. And I'm okay with that. Everyone else loves it.
I didn't really like the first one either, which is why I haven't played the second one. So
okay.
I thought it was fine. I don't know. It didn't capture me.
Exactly. That's the thing. Didn't capture me like Flight Simulator, like trying to make those crazy landings in a remote airstrip in Alaska with a 20-mile headwinds. Boy, you want to talk about
know what?
Edge of your seat.
Slay the Spire is probably still my most played game this year. So that's why I said don't talk to me. Matt, what about you?
Yeah, I think we're all coming in with weird left field pitches. For me right now, my favorite game of the year so far that I've been playing is Hades. And
scared to play it.
Oh, it's so good.
That's why I'm scared to play it, because then I won't like it and I'll feel like an outcast.
No, it's great. I think I've been up until 2 a.m. for the past week playing Hades. Like that's
damn.
It took to me something awful.
Yeah. I heard the same thing from Zach Ryan. He was just talking about that. So many people on our staff love that game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so close. I'm so close to beating it. I was on the final boss last night at like 1:30 in the morning. I'm gonna play after work is over. Like I'm just waiting for this show to be done so I can play some more Hades. I think it's gonna be. I would absolutely in our virtual Game of the Year meeting that we're gonna have in the end of the year. I'm just gonna be banging loudly on the table in the back, just going Hades, Hades. It's
Matt,
so good.
it's on the Switch. You can just bring it up.
What I think is gonna win is maybe Cyberpunk actually, depending on how sophisticated it is.
I forgot that was happening this year. So there we go.
I don't think it's gonna win though.
I think Cyberpunk has a good shot at impressing a lot of people, depending on how in depth it goes. I think.
Right. Yeah, for me personally, right now it's neck and neck with Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us 2. I adored both of those games for very different reasons. Animal Crossing was like a very, very special game for me, but I feel like by the time voting rolls around, people are going to be kind of burned out on it, despite the fact that I'm rocking the raccoons right here.
Loving it.
But I do think that Cyberpunk's going to win. I think that like Animal Crossing rescued 2020 in a lot of ways and got us out of the darkness at the beginning of the pandemic. But I think Cyberpunk is going to be the one that comes along and makes everyone go, "Oh, I didn't know video games could do that. I didn't know a world could be that like lived in and detailed." I think they'll really stick the landing on that one. Although there could be a bunch of controversy surrounding it too. So who knows? And it could also just end up getting delayed again, which happens, 5 or 6 times a year. So yeah, that's the Game Awards. It's December 10th. You can watch it from home like you watch everything else. One last story we'll get through very quickly. A large asteroid will just miss us tomorrow.
Damn it.
It's not gonna do it.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Tony Montero says, will Cyberpunk make the cutoff date?
Ooh.
For the Game Awards?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
What was the cutoff date?
It's like mid-November. It's probably like November 15th or 16th.
It'll be close.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be very close.
Anyway, Meteor, are we gonna die? So
No,
what's
we're
happening?
actually going to be okay. So everyone,
Oh, okay, cool.
You're going to have to keep dealing with all this because the meteor
Ah.
won't stop it. The meteor is huge. It is a very big meteor, and scientists have described it as really cool and big and large, and that it's cool as hell, and they really think it's rad. It might also break into smaller pieces on the way, like a coward. I didn't read the article, but just that's what it is. The huge rock is not going to hit us, everyone, and our endless suffering will persist. But you don't have to deal with our endless suffering anymore, because we're going to let you go. We're going to let Matt go play Hades, and Casey can play Rune Factory, and Seth can land the plane. And
I'm downloading Hades right now.
And I can watch the first 20 minutes of Scoob.
Perfect.
This is a great show. Thank you all so much. Remember to check out Console Wars on CBS All Access starting today. Thanks to everyone in our Twitch comments. Thanks to everyone on YouTube and IGN, everywhere else. And thank you to Destin for running the 1s and 2s in the background behind all of this. He says Microsoft Flight Simulator is his favorite game too. So that's 2 votes, you guys. Getting warmer. IGN has you covered with all news, games, and more every single day at 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. So check in and watch Up at Noon tomorrow at 5 p.m. right after this show, because it's going to be a train wreck. I love you all, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.
Peace.
Bye-bye.